from Los Angeles, and welcome to Stock Market Today. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at 3 stocks with compelling chart action, including Tandem Diabetes as well as DocuSign and MongoDB. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. It's Alyssa Quorum here with Justin Nielsen. And Justin, we saw a narrowly mixed session today. The NASDAQ and Dow finishing in slightly positive territory. The S&P slightly lower on the day, but after the whipsaw action we've seen the last couple of days, pretty good to see some sideways action holding here, right?
And this is kind of what we expect right here. If you look at the NASDAQ, what you've seen is you had a really, you got into new high territory on Friday, a big downside reversal, outside day. That's where the highs and lows are engulfing the previous day. And then we had that drubbing on Monday. So between those 2 days, we could be kind of just sticking in that range for a little while we kind of consolidate here and, let the market kind of decide on its direction. The good thing is that right now it's getting support at all the areas we'd like to see the support. We've snapped right back above that 21-day moving average line. That's the green line that you see on this chart. And there's a lot of things that look, really positive about it. I'd actually kind of like it to pause right here. We'll kind of let the moving averages catch up a little bit, get that 50-day moving average up there a little bit, and give it a pause so it can even go higher. We do have earnings season. That is, we're right in the middle of that right now. We had the Fed meeting today. Looks like they are going to be slowing their bond buying, what a lot of people were calling quantitative easing light. And there's a lot of uncertainty about how the coronavirus is going to affect growth. Right now, it's too soon to tell if there's going to be any adjustments needed for monetary policy.
Right. And even with that drubbing, as you mentioned, that we saw on Monday, a lot of top growth stocks were able to hold up relatively well. And now today, we're seeing some compelling breakouts here. So let's take a look at a few individual names, starting with MongoDB. That stock gaining about 4.4% today, clearing a bit of a handle here. Now, this is one stock in the software sector that looked to be a little bit of a laggard as of late, but it's been coming back.
Yeah, and this is one, it's in that big data field, right? And so this is where, big data needs so many different things. And one of them, of course, is someone to store the data. They have a software as service, which is, the big rage. That's where everyone's kind of going. And, Adobe did that, very profitably. And so MongoDB is among those that is using that software as a service. But you do see that this, had kind of a little bit of a downtrend. We actually got an early entry on this on Swing Trader out of that short consolidation. This isn't one that has earnings, but it does have a very strong record of revenue growth over the last few quarters and actually annual revenue growth. That's tracking at about 37-40%, right there in that range.
Right, and it went public in the fall of 2017, so still a relatively young company, and it is moving towards profitability, but like you said, not quite yet, but we'll keep an eye on this one as it did clear resistance at 157.79.
And that relative strength line, we should mention that blue line at the bottom, it's getting into near-term highs. We don't always have to let it get into the highs that it was at previous levels, and this is not actually at new highs for the stock yet. So the fact that it's getting into those new near-term highs is looking pretty positive.
Yeah, definitely a bullish indicator there. And moving on, let's take a look at a weekly chart for Tandem Diabetes. That stock gaining about 11.4% so far this week, clearing its own cup with handle entry point here, Justin. Now, this one, after moving sideways for quite a long period of time, is now looking like it's finally back at new all-time highs.
Yeah, on IBD Live, we keep on talking about some of the diabetic plays. You got Dexcom, you got Insulet, that's DXCM and PODD, and Tandem was kind of the third one that we were like, it's just not doing anything. It was consolidating and had this area of resistance that it kept on hitting. It finally has broken through that, and while this was the one that was kind of a little bit slower and not quite participating, it definitely outperformed today with that 11% move, as you said, and cleared that resistance that goes all the way back to March 2019. Now, what they did was they announced a software launch. I can't remember what the name of it was. You can find it in Alison Gatlin's article today.
Control IQ.
Control IQ. Thank you very much. So the big thing here is, you got the, do you want multiple daily injections, or would you have like to have a pump that kind of does this for you. And the growth here is incredible because there's a lot of people that are still getting those multiple daily injections, and as they kind of move over to these pumps, there's a lot of growth opportunity. And Allison Gatlin has more of that in her store today as IBD stock of the day.
Yes, and as you mentioned, Justin, this medical products group is a strong group, so we definitely like that going for it as well. And last but not least, let's check in on DocuSign. This is going to be a daily chart here. That stock gaining about 2.7% for the day in above average turnover. Now, Justin, this one's showing strength with how it was able to act around that 50-day moving average on Monday, and it's rebounding, continuing to rebound from that level today.
Yeah, so even though the NASDAQ composite, only came down to its 21-day, you had a lot of stocks that came down to their 50-day moving averages, and DocuSign is one example of that. And so the fact that it got support there very nicely, and now it's rebounded, it's back into new high territory. These are the stocks that you're looking at, the ones that were able to kind of snap back first and get into that new high territory first. And again, this is something that's going to be reflected in those stronger relative strength lines, and that's what we're watching right now.
Right. Now, the last proper base pattern that this stock broke out of was, it looks like it was all the way back in September. Now, there have been some other buy points along the way. Would you consider this latest rebound yet another buying opportunity, or have we seen too many pullbacks and rebounds after that initial breakout for this to be considered yet another?
It probably is another buying opportunity, but going into it, you just have to know this can be a squirrely one. This is one that we've tried a couple times on Swing Trader and not successfully. So it kind of teases you a little bit. So this one is looking stronger. As you mentioned, it looked like it had some volume behind it, and again, the relative strength. Those are all positive factors. But again, this is one that has been teasing us for a little while. So you have to always have that exit strategy, that expectation, and if it doesn't follow through on that expectation, then you have to kind of decide, okay, how much room am I going to give this? And it's good to have those decisions made ahead of time, because if you try and make them in the heat of the moment, you're just more likely to have an emotional based decision. And that's not our style. We like rules.
Oh yeah, very good points you made there, Justin. And for a more in-depth discussion of how IBD likes to look at stocks and how we are analyzing them in real time, make sure you check out IBD Live. You can get all the information at investors.com/IBD Live for your chance to trade live with our team of professionals. Just a super incredibly depth wealth of knowledge from you guys, and really cool to see these trades being discussed in real time.
Yeah, and it's not just about the trades. It's like, how do you handle them? It's like, it's not just about, oh, this is something that could be a buying opportunity, but it's how do you handle them afterwards, and also kind of, again, reining in those emotions so that you're not just buying the thing that is up the most, you're putting in that perspective. Or even more importantly, like when you have a day like Monday, we were kind of saying, hey,
providing that perspective.
Yeah, hold off. It might not be time to sell your whole portfolio right now. Let's just take a step back and, see what happens here. So it's a good check. We've always been providing that check to each other in the newsroom, and so now you, as an audience member, get to kind of participate in that check along with us.
That's right, and you can get a free 2-week trial at investors.com/IBD Live. So we definitely hope you check it out, because you can also submit your questions and get them answered in real time, which is also a very cool component of this.
Yeah. So I was on Q&A today, and we get flooded. So we can't answer all of them, but we're getting to as many as we can.
Yes, as many as we can, and you can also reach out to us on Twitter, Justin and I, and the whole team there as well. And one more quick announcement, we do have another episode of the Investing with IBD podcast coming out tomorrow on Thursday. We have a new one for you every week with our very own host, Arusha Puris, and this week, Scott Redler is going to be on the podcast, so don't miss it. We'll have it out for you tomorrow at investors.com/podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.